Hey everyone, this week we're going to be exploring a topic that we touched on a couple weeks ago, but we're going to look at it in a little bit more detail in a different way today, and that is augmented reality. One of the ways that most of you are probably familiar and use augmented reality in your daily life is through the use of lenses and filters on various social media platforms, whether it's Instagram or Snapchat. So today what I want to do is show you how you can get started creating your own lenses for specifically Snapchat. And we're going to use a software that they have released for anyone can use for free called Snapchat Lens Studio. So you'll need to follow the link that I've provided in order to download this to your computer. This is going to give us a little bit more sophisticated control. So some of you might have also already played around in Snapchat. They have a number of built-in features for you to create your own lenses if you're just using the app on your mobile device. But this using Lens Studio will allow us a little bit more control and allow us to try some different things. So again, just follow the link that I provided, download that to your computer, install, and you're going to be ready to go. So once you've downloaded it, all you need to do is launch the application, and when it launches, you're going to find yourself at a home screen. As you probably know, and you've seen all kinds of great examples, Snapchat and lenses can do all kinds of things. It can distort your face, it can drop backgrounds in behind you, it can even work with like 3D models and project things into the room that you're sitting in, it can track hands, and there are all kinds of other interactive things. So obviously these are really sophisticated results that a lot of professionals are creating after getting to know how to use this platform. But we're going to just deal with some really simple things. So the first thing that you need to do when you find yourself on the home screen, just recognize that there's a number of these recommended templates here. If this is something you want to explore further on your own time and learn more about how to create more sophisticated lenses, I'd highly recommend looking at any of these tutorials where it allows you to kind of reverse engineer examples that they've provided. Otherwise, if you just want to get started and play around and tinker and see what you can come up with, just click this blue button for New Project. Another thing that you might do is also go up here to the preview screen. You'll see that we have now a stage on the left side, and you can see me in my real face without a mask or without any cartoon effect applied over. Some things that you can do in the preview box here is toggle between just like a stock image that they use to model your lens, or here is our webcam feed. And so that's what I'm going to use for this one. It just allows us to see things a little bit more clearly and in real time. Okay, so as I mentioned, this is our preview screen over here on the right. Over on the left, this is our kind of environment preview. This is where you'll see where our different effects and elements that we add in. It's where you'll manipulate them, change their position or size. And you can see here right now it looks like a 3D scene, meaning you kind of get a sense of height, width, and depth. This is useful if you're creating a 3D scene in Snapchat, which it's very capable of. But today we're just going to deal with kind of 2D effects. So let's just go ahead and click this button that says View 2D Scene. Okay, so now you see that there is kind of a stock image that's popped up. And this is going to be kind of our model that we'll place objects around or on or project them onto when we start creating new things. Okay, so let me just show you how you can get started. Really simple stuff, things that are kind of goofy and fun to play with, and then I'll show you a few more practical or creative ideas that I've just been tinkering around with on my own. So up here in the upper left corner, right underneath this home button, you'll see this is your objects panel. Oops, and I want to actually dock that back in. So you'll see if you drag things around, you can kind of get things out of place. But there we go. Objects panel should be up here. And you'll see that there's a plus sign. That's going to allow us to add our new effect, whatever element we want to put onto it. So let's go ahead and click the plus sign. And if we scroll down this list, you can see there's a number of different things that you can choose. Right now it's just using a basic camera. If you're doing more interesting effects, you can do things with different types of cameras or lighting effects. You can project image objects just straight into the scene, text, audio effects, all kinds of things. But we want to just actually scroll down and keep going past mesh, and come here to where we start to see kind of face effects. That's really what we're going to be using our face effects today. So let's just kind of go through the list and you'll see what each one of them does. eye color. If I click eye color, you can see my eyes have turned green in the panel. You can adjust this. You can see that it is kind of showing you the preview here on the left, but you can adjust this over on the right in the inspector panel, just in between our preview and our kind of our scene preview, our camera preview and our scene preview. So you should clearly be able to tell you can change the eye color just by clicking this, and maybe I want Terminator red eyes. And you can change the alpha will affect how solid or bright they are. You can go from very bright to very, not visible at all. That's typically what alpha means. It means like transparency. And so you can even apply it to both eyes, right eye or left eye, if you wanted to do things. So this is just kind of a goofy little thing that you can kind of play around with. I don't particularly like it, but each time if you do an effect and you want to get rid of it, just go back over to the left to the Objects panel, click your effect, right click, and go down to Delete, and that'll get rid of it. Okay, so let's just keep cycling through. We'll add another object, scroll down to our face effects. What are some other good ones? Oh, face liquefy is good. That's one that you're probably used to seeing, where it can maybe bug out your eyes. You can drag these around and it will change, kind of how it affects your image. Obviously, it over here in the inspector panel, it still also has a number of different things that you can affect, like the radius, the intensity. You can get some really kind of strange effects this way just by adjusting your points and playing around with the parameters. You can attach it to specific places like your chin, or let's go ahead and just pick like forehead. So again, that's kind of face liquefy. Just allows you to kind of play around with varying parts of your face and kind of create those bulging effects. There are other ways that we can create bulging effects as well. So let's delete that. Let's scroll down, and I think, what is the one that we want to try with? Face stretch is fun too. So now you can see the preview for our scene has this kind of mesh over it. If I click and drag any of these white or black points, you'll see that it affects my image in the camera preview. And it's really just as simple as that. If you wanted to like squeeze your chin in and create like this alien shaped head, that's kind of the effect that face stretch will do. Let's go ahead and delete that. And let's see, there's a number of other things that we can play with here. What we're probably most used to is the face retouching, which you can see here. You can brighten my teeth. I can sharpen the intensity of the eyes. I can whiten the eyes a little bit. And you can even like smooth out the softness of your skin for those beauty effects, right? Not something I'm super concerned with, but also can help you kind of tweak things when you go down the line. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to show you some ways that we can create our own sort of images that we might use in this effect. So one of the things that we might start with is if we go to our face effects, the first thing we're going to do is play with face image. So let me show you how I'm going to get started doing that, and we're going to move over to Photoshop for this section. So you also might want to use Photoshop in order to create some effect this week. Okay, so now I'm here in Photoshop. All I really need to do, let's think about something fun that I might want to like project onto my face. So the way that the face image effect works in Snapchat Lens Studio is that it will just take an image and it will just project it right in front of your face. And it will follow your head around as you move. So I've got kind of an interesting idea. We can go ahead and create a new one if you have. I'll show you a few options, but let's go ahead and open. And I had an image that I know that I wanted to use is Rene Magritte's Son of Man. So if you're an art history buff like myself, you'll probably recognize this image, the surrealist painter Rene Magritte, the man with the apple over his face. So I just brought this into Photoshop. What I want to do is isolate the apple so that I can kind of use that as an apple that will track over my own face in Snapchat. So first thing I did, I unclicked the lock button on my layer. That allows me to edit that image. And I'm going to use some tools that we've used before. Let's go ahead and grab my quick selection tool. I can bring my brush down by hitting my bracket key on the keyboard, left bracket. And I'm just going to start painting in that apple and its leaves in the stem. So again, I'm going pretty quick here, but I'm going to go in, then again, bringing my brush down and hitting Option as I paint to kind of subtract things from that selection now too. And so now I'm going to kind of go through here. And the reason we're doing this in Photoshop is because what we're eventually going to need to do here is create a transparent image. And what I mean by that is oftentimes when we're working with JPEGs, you might notice that you know, even if you have it set against a transparent background in Photoshop, it'll save out against a white background. And that's not something that we want. For this effect, what we need to do is go ahead and kind of work with a transparent image. And so we're going to be, instead of saving as a JPEG, we're going to save it as a PNG image. And PNG images allow us to deal with transparency. So you'll see what I mean here shortly. Just kind of giving you a little quick overview as I'm kind of painting in some of these things here. So obviously these things take time. I can check my selection with this Q button. And for now that looks okay. I've got a better version that I've kind of worked with already that I'll probably use to show you. But suffice to say that looks okay. I've got the image selected that I want. What I want to do now, go ahead, go up to Select, Inverse, and when I press Delete, that'll get rid of everything that is around that apple. So there we go. I have an apple and it's floating against, as you notice in Photoshop, we've got this kind of checkerboard transparent background. So anywhere we see that checkerboard, we know that there's no background showing through there. And when we save it as a PNG, all of this will be transparent. That'll become clear when I do this effect. I can see there's a little bit of a mess here over on the left side. So I'll just grab my eraser and we can just get rid of some of that like fuzziness that kind of floats around where the selection didn't quite work perfectly. No need for perfection in this case, but there we go. Okay, other thing that I might do, this isn't very big. I want to just resize it. Now this is going to make it grainier, but I'm not being really picky with this. So in order to resize, I'm grabbing my rectangular marquee. I'm going to right click and go to Free Transform. And if I hold, or actually I don't need to hold anything, but if I just click and drag, I can make this a little bit larger in the frame. Another thing that we might do now, just kind of center it, and we can even go get our crop tool and just kind of draw this, back off of that with my Z key, undo crop, there we go. Okay, so let me just go grab my my crop tool and I'm going to drag like a square around it. And that should be okay. You know, you can center this in the frame and there we go. Okay, so now I want to show you what we need to do. And the difference between PNG images and JPEG images. So let me go ahead. I'm going to go to File. Let's say I'm done here. I'm going to go ahead and Save As. And we can see here, right now we're set to a Photoshop file. We need to change that to PNG. So sonofman.png, that's the name of the painting. And I'm just going to go ahead and save. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to save another one as a JPEG just to show you why you don't want a JPEG. So let's save that as a JPEG in the same place, and you'll see why. Okay. So what we can do now, let's go back into Snapchat Lens Studio. We'll go back to our 2D scene. And now what we're going to do, go back up to our objects panel. Let's go ahead and pick the face image option. And now we can see here, it has just popped like this preview image over my face. You can see if I click and drag that or I drag it around in the frame, it changes its position. If I click the center kind of triangle, or that diamond rather, it will change kind of where it pivots and where it attaches to your face. For me, I just want it square in the center of my face, and I want it to pivot from that point as well. Okay, so you might be wondering now, this is just this weird transparent preview image. How do I get my apple into its place? Well, over in the inspector panel, all we have to do is go find the image that's dropped down here, and we're going to pick texture. And once this little dialog box pops up, we want to click the plus sign and then go to From Files. Now what this is going to allow me to do is pick that image wherever I saved it to. I saved it in a Lens Studio folder here. And let's go ahead and pick sonofman.png, which is exactly what we want. So we've got it selected. I'll click OK. And there we go. I've got the apple in my face. Looks pretty good. Obviously, it's a little too small. So we can just go to our scene preview and just drag that up. You know, make it a little bit more large, take up more of the face to give it that kind of nice surreal effect that we want. And so there we go. It's as easy as that, right? I've now just kind of projected and mapped an image onto my face that follows it around as I track. And it's as easy as that. If I was to go back to our image texture, and let's pick instead the JPEG one, sonofmancopy.jpg, you'll see here it has that white background around it. I don't want that. So that's why I picked the PNG, because the PNG image allows you to work in transparency, as I said. A couple other things that I've done is just create new images that I might want to use in Photoshop as well. So back in Photoshop, if I create a new project, just make it letter size and horizontal. You know, we can, draw, doesn't really matter, but we can just use the paint tool or something here in order to, you know, create something that I want attached above my head. So if we do this, the first thing we actually need to do, go ahead and create a new layer in your layers panel. And then get to your background layer, which as we can see here has a white background and a lock on it, but we'll just click the trash can. And this is going to set us up just a completely transparent workspace, because remember, this needs to be transparent. And I can just even draw my own elements, so, you know, things that I might want to add onto my face or around my face. And so let's just go ahead and pick my paintbrush, and I've got a black color here. For my brush, I picked Kyle's Inkbox Classic Cartoonist, which is, to me, kind of looks like a nice kind of cartoon pencil. I like that handmade kind of look. Because what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create like a little thing here. And I'm full of ideas, so let's just go ahead and I'm going to paint just using my trackpad. Normally I might use a Wacom tablet to kind of have a little bit better control over the marks. But here I'm going to create just a light bulb that is going to kind of float over my head. Hopefully bringing me many, many ideas. So this might look a little funny, but bear with me. Oh, let's make that much bigger. That didn't look great. That looks more like a light bulb to me. So again, not perfect, but now I've drawn kind of this outline. I can use my paint bucket even to kind of color this in. So let's pick like a nice yellow color for the bulb. Paint that in. Let's pick a nice gray color for that kind of metal base that it's in, and then a white. Actually, just do gray for the whole thing here. But we will pick a white, and I'll kind of create some highlights on this bulb here just by painting them in. So again, super, super easy, simple graphic there. You can extend this as more as you want. If you wanted to draw something, add more layers. Oh, here's what we'll do. I'll also get some kind of, you know, rays of light kind of beaming out from around it. So I brought my brush up and just kind of paint around that. Kind of these shining lights. Okay, one thing I might want to do is just grab it all and move it so that it's centered in the frame. And that looks okay to me. So now again, we'll do the same thing. Making sure I can see that it's got a transparent background. Go to File. We'll go to Save As. And we'll call this Bulb. And make sure we select PNG. Okay. Back into Lens Studio. Let's go back in here and pick our texture. We'll pick the plus sign. Go to From Files and find bulb.png and pick that. And so now we see I've got my light bulb kind of is just floating in front of my face, but I can obviously drag it up above my head. If I scroll my trackpad, I can zoom out on my preview and kind of reposition it in different places. But here's where I might want to drag my center or my attaching diamond there, maybe onto my forehead. And that way it kind of goes where I want it to. it stays kind of mounted to right that point on my forehead where I put it on the model there. So there you go. There's my light bulb. You know, I did another one with this too that I have to show you. Let's pick that from files. And this was a thought bubble that I had thinking about everything that I've got coming up before and after Thanksgiving break coming up, which I'm sure you can identify with. So there's a couple examples that I might use that face image effect for. So again, that's just the face image effect. So we can go ahead and delete that. And I want to show you another effect that we might use. So let's go back into Photoshop. We can close these out. And the other thing that we can do, actually, let me just kind of show you what the example looks like in Lens Studio first. If we go back up to our Objects panel, click the plus sign, and let's pick Face Mask. You can see here it has a default graphic. What this allows you to do is like create your own designs and then map them so that they match the contours of your face a little better. So it exposes your mouth so that you can be able to talk. It allows you to kind of blink and move your eyes and kind of maps it in relation to that. So this is different than the face image. This is going to kind of fit around your face because Snapchat is recognizing your face. So again, this is just kind of the colorful default version here. One thing that I've put together that I think might be helpful for you if you want to go with this direction and something that you want to do for your project is a template. So I've posted that here. For me, I've just have it on my desktop. So I've got face mask template. Let's open that up as its own. And now we're going to click a new layer, and anything that we kind of paint onto this will become our face mask. So I don't know. Let's just do something really silly. I'm a fan of David Bowie. I don't know if any of you are, but there's a very famous face paint that he has. So let's go ahead and just kind of paint that in. I think it goes something like this. Like a lightning bolt kind of thing. So I can sharpen that up. Again, this is going to be super quick. I would expect, you know, maybe if you're doing something a little bit more sophisticated, you might take some more time with it. Let's go ahead and just grab our paint bucket. Just fill, oops, that didn't fill. I need to draw a boundary around it. That's why it didn't fill. Okay, get our paint bucket. Might need to kind of tighten up some of these little stuff that it didn't get. And then I'm going to show you kind of a little extra thing. Okay, because we'll get another little layer here. We'll make another layer and we'll put it under, and it's basically the same thing, but I think that there's like a blue color there. It's probably like that. That kind of runs along this edge. And this edge. So that looks okay to me. Get my eraser, and I actually just want to clean up everything that's kind of above our boundary here. Oh, let me set my opacity and flow way up so that it's opaque. I don't have to go over it a bunch of times. So there we go, and there's my red layer. Another thing I might do, if just for consistency's sake here, if I'm done with my drawing, is just select both the layers, go up to layer, and merge them, and that allows it to just be one, so I don't have to click them on and off. Okay, another thing I might do here, let's go ahead and we need to unclick our background lock and just delete that, because remember, we want this just to be kind of a transparent image. So now this is placed where it needs to be. If I go and save this as a PNG image, because it's transparent, let's just save that as bolt, and we'll see what it works. Go back into Snapchat Lens Studio. Same thing applies here. If we want to change the image that we're working with, you find texture, this time under face mask, and let's click the plus sign, pick from files, and now bolt.png, and click OK. Okay, so that's all right. Looks like there was some things that maybe I needed to sort of play around with a little bit more. The first was to kind of delete the eye here. So again, I'm just going to kind of bring this up on top. Let me actually pick that, and now if I hide this, I can just click delete on my layer 1, and now that should cut the eyeball out. So you do have to pay attention to things like that. It might take a little bit of trial here and there, trial and error. Call this bolt again, and we'll just save. Oh, that was a JPEG, so I caught myself. PNG bolt. Okay, and click save. All right, so now we probably need to go ahead and reload that from files. Bolt copy.png is the one that has the eye piece drawn out. So it doesn't really work. As we can see here, it's not perfectly mapped up. So what you actually need to do is drag these points so that they apply more to where your mask is set up. So, you know, mine's not perfect, but this will give us kind of a place to work with. And bring this down. You can see that it mirrors them, so you don't have to move every single one, which is a little bit nice. But there we go. You know, it's looking a little bit better. Obviously, you might try some other effects. Over here with the alpha, you know, if I fade it down, it will be, you know, you see a little bit more transparency on it. So again, you can play around with your own face paint kind of effects this way. Okay, one last one I want to show you. This is a little bit more complicated, but can be kind of fun. And so for this one, I'm going to pick a new object here. But this time, instead of face effects, I'm going to go to image. I need an image object. Okay, so now we can see here I've got this weird image that has kind of occluded my screen. We're going to do the same thing for this. What I'm going to do for this one, you'll see what I'm going to do. So let's click the plus sign. I've got an idea that I can work with. This is in a folder that I used for a presentation that I'd done. Let's go ahead and just go ahead and pick Van Gogh, and we'll see here. So let's click open and click OK. Okay, so now you can see this portrait of Vincent van Gogh just popped kind of perfectly into the middle of my screen. We can no longer see my image. But let's go ahead, go back up to Objects in our Object panel. Actually, let's click to our 2D scene, but we'll go back to find a new object, go back to our face effects, and this time we want to use Face Inset. And what we're going to see here, hopefully, if we drag our Face Inset down below our image object, there we can see my mouth has popped up. So if we go to our parameters in the inspector panel, you can see face region has been set to mouth. The blend mode has been set to normal. So again, like I could do different types of overlays or things here, but normal is fine for this. Alpha, again, will be its transparency. And what we can do now, go to our 2D scene. Oh, no, actually we have to go actually up here. We have to do this from a 3D scene. It's a little bit more complicated. But up here in this right-hand corner of our preview panel, you can see this little square. This is our view. So if I click the one that says front, it should take me just to the front. And I can zoom in and see here. And we can see now I can kind of see my object here. So one thing I might want to do is up here at the top, we have a number of different tools that we can grab. So we want to grab the move tool, and we will just kind of drag this into place, just like that. And also it's a little too large. So this is, I believe, let's find which one is our scale tool. There's our scale tool. Dragging and clicking and dragging this blue box will make it, you can kind of warp its dimensions a little bit. There are a number of different things you could do as well. Let's say, so I've got my mouth kind of set into place here. Let's go ahead and we're going to do the same thing for everything else. I want my eyes as well. So let's do another face inset, drag it down below our image. For this one, we can move it around. Oops, still have my scale tool. So again, I need to grab move, and we can go ahead and steer in over here. Instead of our face region being mouth, let's pick this as our right eye. And so this is your right eye as well. So this is going to be kind of positioned in this way, I think. Again, we can scale this down. If I click my scale blue, oh no, I guess I have to have my tool selected. Just kind of move that into place. These little bars kind of can change its position or rotation. And so again, this is just kind of playing around here, and we'll do one more for my other eye. Oops. Pick face inset, drag that down so that it's in front or below my image object. And this one we'll pick left eye and do the same thing. Move it into place. Pick my scale tool, shrink it down, and there we go. So again, I can kind of play with some different things here as well. Maybe the alpha can be brought down just to kind of like mash it in a little bit better, you know, just to kind of ease things so that it doesn't look so stark. But again, this is just kind of a really fun little feature that you could use. So I've got myself like made into a living Van Gogh painting now. Okay, so obviously these are just a few different things you might try in Snapchat Lens Studio. There are a billion others, and people are doing all kinds of things with them. But I think up to you as far as like how you explore this, but hopefully this gives you a few basic ideas about how you can get started. So let's say that you're done. You're happy with your effect. There's a lot of different things that you can do with this. If you are a Snapchat user, you can actually push this to your phone. So up here on the left, you should see some yellow buttons there. If you click them, it'll ask you to log into your Snapchat account. After that, it's really pretty easy. You can see here, I have send lens to my device. If I click that, it'll send it. And when I open up Snapchat, you should see it in your lenses menu when you pop it up. And so you can do that. Let's say you want to share it with, that'll allow you to just kind of test it yourself on your own device. But if you want to share it to other people, you can go ahead and go up to Publish Lens. You'll pick a name for it. We could call this Van Gogh. We could pick a lens preview. It'll generate a few options. You know, whatever. Doesn't really matter to me. As I said, you know, I'm kind of still figuring a lot of this stuff out. And let's just go ahead and click Submit. It'll bring up, you know, if you're logged in, you will have a kind of a dialog box here. We can just say Submit. And there we go. So it will review. It really doesn't take very long. A couple minutes really is what I've found. And then after that, once it's live, you should be able to share it with other people. So if I clicked on one from Magritte here, you can see if I have share, I can copy the link. I can scan it with the snap code, or I can share it in a number of different ways. Looks like those are mostly the two codes. So download snap codes. But yeah, so you can share a link, or you can have your friends kind of scan your dots, or they can search for it in the lens menus and in the browsing menu inside Snapchat. So that's pretty much it for today. One thing that you're going to be asked to do is explore this in a little bit more detail. You can find out the information below, but other than that, I hope you have fun creating your own lenses.